إلى هذا الحد هناك حقد إسرائيلي ضد سكان قطاع غزة الصامدين المقاومين المثابرين الذين يستحقون منا كل احترام وتقدير ودعم. قتلت إسرائيل حتى تاريخه أكثر من 11,000 مدني، 70% منهم من النساء والأطفال، في حملة تطهير عرقي وإبادة جماعية وعنف ممنهج على مرأى ومسمع من العالم أجمع. عنف ودم يزرعان الكراهية لأجيال قادمة. شهر كامل ونحن نطلب من القوى الدولية ومجلس الأمن أن يعفي المدنيين الفلسطينيين من شر الحملة الانتخابية الإسرائيلية البشعة، والمجلس يفشل المرة تلو الأخرى بإصرار قوى معينة على عدم تقييد أيدي إسرائيل في الرد على عمليات 7 أكتوبر، بل وعلى توصيف ما تقوم به من مجازر وحشية بأنه دفاع عن النفس. أصحاب الجلالة والفخامة والسمو، لدي 3 نقاط قصيرة جدا أرى أهمية في التأكيد عليها. أولا، أن الوقف الكامل لإطلاق النار هو أولوية ينبغي أن يعمل كل من له قدرة على السعي إلى تحقيقها، أولوية تجب كل اعتبار آخر. ومن يعمل على عدم توسيع رقعة الحرب يجب أن يعي أن استمرار الآلة العسكرية الإسرائيلية في البطش بأهل غزة هو الذي ينهي رفع احتمالات المواجهة الإقليمية. ثانياً، التهجير القسري بكل صوره لسكان غزة أو الضفة أو القدس الشرقية هو جريمة دولية ومخالفة صريحة للقانون الدولي الإنساني، وهو مرفوض من الفلسطينيين والعرب والعالم. ولكن قوى التطرف الإسرائيلية بخيالها المريض لا ترغب في التخلي عن تمنياتها بعمل ترانسفير تاني، وهو أمر لن يتحقق ولن نمكنهم من تحقيق أمنياتهم الفاشية. ثالثاً وأخيراً، لا حديث عن مستقبل غزة بالانفصال عن مستقبل الضفة الغربية والقدس الشرقية المحتلة، فهذه عناصر إقليم الدولة الفلسطينية على أساس خطوط 4 يونيو 67. وعلى كل حال فإن كل الحديث عن التعامل الأمني مع قطاع غزة دون حديث عن الحل السياسي للقضية ودون آلية لتطبيق هذا الحل يعد تضييعا للمزيد من المقت، ومن شأنه أن يعود بالأمور إلى المربع رقم 1 مرة أخرى. أصحاب الجلالة والفخامة والسمو، بدأت بعض الدول في الغرب وبالذات في أوروبا في التجاوب مع فكرة تنظيم مؤتمر دولي للسلام تتعامل مع كيفية التطبيق حل سياسي للصراع يقوم على أساس حل الدولتين. ورغم المواقف المشينة وغير المتوازنة التي صدمتنا ولا تزال من جانب عدة دول ومسؤولين، فإن الرأي العام العالمي كما تعبر عنه الشعوب يمر بحالة استفاقة بعد أن صح على القبح الشديد للمذابح المرتكبة على يد الاحتلال. وهنا فإنني أرى جدوى في التجاوب مع أنصار ذلك التوجه الداعي إلى مؤتمر دولي لعله يصل بنا إلى تجسيد مسار سياسي يطبق حل الدولتين الذي ينشده العالم كله ما عدا قوة الاحتلال. إن تعادة الأمور إلى طبيعتها في غزة الباسلة سيكون طويلا وصعبا، وأثق أن الدول الأعضاء ستقدم كل الدعوة والمساندة، فأهل غزة يستحقون وقوفنا جميعا إلى جوارهم في مواجهة آثار العدوان. أخيرا، ندعو الله أن يخفف عن أهالي الضحايا وعن المصابين والمكلومين، ونترحم على الشهداء كل الشهداء، ونتذكر أيضا في هذا المقام الرئيس الشهيد ياسر عرفات الذي يصادف اليوم ذكرى استشهاده، ونأمل أن يتلقى أصحاب الضمائر الحرة في العالم رسالتنا بالوقف الفوري لهذه الحرب الشريرة. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
أشكر معالي السيد أحمد أبو غيط على كلمته، والآن أدعو معالي السيد حسين إبراهيم طه الأمين العام لمنظمة التعاون الإسلامي لإلغاء كلمته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Son Altesse Royale le Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdelaziz Al Saoud, Prince héritier, président du Conseil des ministres du Royaume d'Arabie Saoudite. Son Excellence M. Mahmoud Abbas, président de l'État de Palestine. Son Excellence M. Ahmed Aboul Khez, secrétaire général de la Ligue des États arabes. Majesté, Altesse, Excellence, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. J'aimerais tout d'abord exprimer mes sincères remerciements et ma profonde gratitude au Royaume d'Arabie Saoudite sous la sage conduite du serviteur de 2 saintes mosquées, le roi Salman bin Abdelaziz, et de son prince héritier, son Altesse royale, le prince Mohammed bin Salman, pour avoir appelé à la tenue de ce sommet, pour la généreuse hospitalité et l'accueil chaleureux, ainsi que pour tous les moyens et dispositions mis en œuvre pour assurer les succès de nos assises. Majesté, Altesse, Excellence, ce sommet arabo-islamique conjoint confirme notre solidarité inébranlable et notre soutien constant au peuple palestinien, ainsi que notre engagement commun à défendre la question de la Palestine et de l'Quds al-Sharif, la raison d'être de notre organisation. Nous avons tous suivi les scènes horribles de massacres et de génocides qui constituent des crimes de guerre et des crimes contre l'humanité commis quotidiennement par les forces d'occupation israéliennes sans aucune dissuasion politique, humanitaire ou juridique. Ces massacres nécessitent une documentation, un recours aux mécanismes juridiques et judiciaires internationaux existants pour poursuivre Israël, la puissance occupante, et lui demander des comptes. Majesté, Altesse, Excellence, nous réitérons notre appel en faveur de la cessation immédiate et durable et complète de l'agression israélienne continue contre le peuple palestinien et de l'ouverture des couloirs humanitaires pour fournir une assistance adéquate et durable, répondre aux besoins fondamentaux et la bande de Gaza et assurer la protection internationale du peuple palestinien. Nous réaffirmons notre rejet sans équivoque du déplacement forcé des Palestiniens et exhortons les communautés internationales à mettre en œuvre la récente résolution de l'Assemblée générale des Nations unies. À cet égard et contraire, Israël, la puissance occupante, à s'acquitter de ses obligations vis-à-vis des droits humanitaires internationaux et toutes les résolutions pertinentes des Nations unies. En conclusion, nous réaffirmons qu'une solution juste, durable et globale à la question de la Palestine nécessite un effort concerté pour contribuer au lancement.
And the independent Palestinian state is established in line with the international resolutions and the Arab Peace Initiative. Finally, I wish this joint summit will achieve its goals and to the service and benefit of the Palestinian cause and Jerusalem. Thank you, Mr. Hussein Ibrahim Taha, and I give the floor to the High Commissioner of UNRWA.
Mr. Chair, Your Royal Highness Mohammed bin Salman, Excellency, thank you for the opportunity to address the Joint Extraordinary Summit. The past month has been incredibly painful for all of us. UNRWA, the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, is in mourning for 101 colleagues confirmed killed in Gaza. On Monday, United Nations flags worldwide will be at half-mast to honor the memory.
The UNRWA
across the Gaza Strip,
honor the memories of
people
21
have
of its
reportedly been
staff
killed, with the majority to be women and children. Many more are surely still on the will be at half-mast to honor the memory. Across the Gaza Strip, more than 10,000 people have reportedly been killed, with the majority to be women and children. Many more are surely still under the rubble. The Israeli forces have pushed over 1.5 million people out of the north of the Gaza Strip. More than 700,000 women, children and men now live in UNRWA schools and shelter. I was in Gaza last week, my first time since the war started. What I saw will mark me forever. Every little girl and boy I met in an UNRWA shelter asked me for bread and water. Children used to learn and laugh in the school I visited. Now the school is an overcrowded shelter that lacks the minimum standard for a dignified life. The continuous bombardment, together with the siege, are choking Gaza and its people. Basic services are crumbling. Everything is running out: food, water, medicine, and fuel. And the dramatic development in Al-Shifa last night pushed many health staff and wounded people to leave. Excellencies, I have 13,000 colleagues in Gaza. Most are displaced. Many continue to work. They operate 150 UNRWA shelters. They keep 1/3 of our health center open and manage mobile clinic. They deliver medicine to hospital. They deliver flour to bakeries and bring bread back to the shelter. My colleague Maha calls her job a mission impossible, especially when she tries to reassure her children every morning that they will not die. Excellency, today Gazans feel dehumanized and abandoned. They are yearning for reassurance, especially from their Arab and Muslim brothers and sisters, that they hear the crying of the children and see the fear in the eyes of the mothers. On Thursday, I addressed the international conference convened in Paris to support civilians in Gaza. I warned of the danger of double standard, explicitly described the ongoing campaign aimed at dehumanizing Palestinians. I also firmly stated our position against the forced displacement of the people of Gaza, most of whom are descendants of Palestinian refugees. I cautioned against the spillover of the conflict into the region. The West Bank has reached a boiling point with the Israeli forces and settler violence claiming lives daily. The Lebanon-Israel border is simmering with tension. Excellencies, the Palestinians in Gaza have always relied on the Arab and Muslim world for solidarity. Today, they also need you to turn this solidarity into further and stronger action. I am seeking your support for 3 specific and urgent matters. First, to reach a humanitarian ceasefire with strict adherence to international humanitarian law. We must insist on protecting civilian and civilian infrastructure, including United Nations facilities and hospitals. This should be our recurrent request. I'm sure that many of you can influence action on the ground. No effort should be spared at this point. Second, a meaningful and continuous flow of humanitarian aid is essential. We must make the flow of supply match the immense humanitarian needs. But the logistic and the verification of trucks by Israel are extremely cumbersome. They only allow a limited number of trucks into Gaza. We must increase the volume of aid and use other crossings, including those within Israel, like Kerem Abu Salem. Third, UNRWA urgently needs funds and new voice. UNRWA is not only the largest UN agency in Gaza, but also the last remaining lifeline for 2.2 million people. We can offer much more if we have the means. I sincerely thank the countries that have already announced contribution for the generous response, and I respectfully call on other members of the League and the OIC to also show your solidarity by supporting UNRWA. I want to tell the people in our shelter that the Arab-Islamic world tasked us to help them and gave us the resource to do so. Finally, I need you to firmly defend the agency against false and insidious claims that its schools teach hatred or that it has let the civilians of Gaza down. This accusation comes from those who want us to fail. They fuel a toxic and deeply polarized environment. To conclude, we must also consider the day after a political solution has become a matter of life and death for millions of people. A genuine prospect of Palestinian statehood is critical. We must step back from the brink before it is too late. I urge you, members of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, to act now to change the trajectory of this crisis. With your support, UNRWA is ready to do its part.
IC का इजलास जारी है। शामिल करेंगे कुछ दीगर अहम खबरें। कराची में निगलेरिया का मरीज निजी अस्पताल में इंतकाल कर गया है। इंतकाल करने वाला 38 साला शख्स गुलशन मेमार का रिहायशी था। मजीद क्या तफसीलात हैं अनवर खान से जानते हैं। बताइए अनवर।
गुलशन इकबाल गुलशन बीमार 33 साल शख्स था, 48 साल शख्स जो कि इस वक्त नेगलेरिया के बाइस जहां बाक हो गया। 7 नवंबर को बुखार सर दर्द के बाइस इसको निजी अस्पताल के अंदर मुंतकिल किया गया था। मरीज की तबीयत 9 नवंबर को बहुत ज्यादा बिगड़ी थी, जिसके बाद दिल की धड़कन आहिस्ता आहिस्ता होने के सबब इसको वेंटिलेटर के ऊपर मुंतकिल किया गया था। अस्पताल इंतजामिया की जानिब से तिब्बी इमदाद फराहम करने के बावजूद मरीज जो है वो जावर न हो सका। और महकमा सेहत के हुक्काम के मुताबिक अब तक कराची में 12 अफराद नेगलेरिया के बाइस जहां बाक हो चुके हैं। और महकमा सेहत की जारी करदा जो हेल्थ स्कीम थी उसके साथ साथ जो मरासला था उसके बावजूद कराची वाटर एंड सीवरेज बोर्ड की जानिब से आबी ज़खायर को मतलूबा की मकदार फराहम नहीं की जा सकी है।
ठीक है अनवर खान, आप इस बारे में आगाह कर रहे थे, शुक्रिया। OIC इजलास में फलस्तीनी सदर महमूद अब्बास खिताब कर रहे हैं।
That will remain us united and the occupation will come to an end. As I speak to you, our Palestinian people have been reeling to the most heinous, ferocious aggression. It is not but a genocide war by the Israeli killing machine that has been violating the international law, the international humanitarian law, and breached all red lines, as they have killed and injured more than 40,000 Palestinians, most of whom are women, children, and elders, in addition to the total destructions of thousands of residential homes on the heads of their residents. This is what happened in 1 month. What if it remains and continues thereafter? At the same time, the West Bank and Jerusalem are coming under daily attacks by the Israeli occupation forces as well as the terrorist illegal settlers. My heart is heavy with sadness and grief for the killing of thousands of children and annihilation of total households, destruction of hospitals, mosques, churches, and schools in Gaza Strip. It defies logic that this is happening before the eyes of the whole world without immediate action, without putting an immediate end to this war and sparing our unarmed civilian people from these atrocities. How long will these violations, atrocities, absence of justice continue against our people? I am certain that you cannot accept, nor you, nor any free man in the world would accept these dual standards, or accept that our people will remain victims to this ethnic cleansing, genocidal war. The Israeli occupation forces and those who support and protect them are totally responsible for the killing and the injury of each and every Palestinian woman and child. The occupiers will be brought to justice before the international criminal courts. Even if we have to go to the corner of the world. And in this context, we would like to point out that the United States that have the major impact or influence on Israel is totally responsible for the absence of a diplomatic solution. And we call on the U.S. administration to put an end to the Israeli aggression, the Israeli occupation, and violation and desecration of our holy sites. Yes, we call on the United States administration, Mr. President, this is a historical moment. Each and one, all and each, must live up to his responsibility for the restoration of peace and security foundations in the region, to avoid recurrence of violence. And in order to achieve this, we emphasize the following. First, the Security Council to live up to its responsibility and obligation to put an end to this belligerent war on against our people without further delay, and the delivery of relief aid, medical supply, restoration of fuel, electric power to Gaza Strip, and prevention of forcible transfer of our Gazans, our fellow Palestinians in Gaza and West Bank, which is totally and categorically rejected. Second, no military or security solutions are acceptable, as they have all failed, and the Israeli occupation forces undermine the two-state solution with their illegal settlement policies, genocide, aggression, and above all, the unjust siege laid around Gaza and the violation of the historic and legal status of the Christian and Muslim holy sites. We will hold steadfast, holding our ground on our own homeland, and we cannot bargain over our established rights. We reiterate that Gaza Strip is part and parcel of the state of Palestine, and the diplomatic solution must be inclusive of all the Palestinian territories, including Gaza, Jerusalem, and West Bank, and we reject Israel's piracy over our funds transferred to Gaza Strip on a monthly basis, whom we did not abandon for a single day. The total budget expended in Gaza Strip since 2007 exceeded $20 billion. It is our duty, it is our obligation towards our fellow Palestinians to ensure they are provided with health, education, power, water, and other basic services, in addition to the salaries of employees, let alone the social welfare. We call on the Security Council that Palestine is granted its permanent membership, and the international protection to the Palestinian people provided. And this is what we have repeatedly demanded. Yet we are abandoned and left alone to face the Israeli occupation forces with their aggression and belligerent war. We need and we seek international protection for our unarmed civilian Palestinian people on the basis of the Arab Peace Initiative to put an end to the occupation and have the Palestinian independent state on the 1967 border established, and the Palestinian refugee issue be resolved under the United Nations resolutions with a clear mechanism of implementation. This is what are working on and complied by the Palestinian Authority, the sole and lawful representative of the Palestinian people. I call on rallying the international support to enable the Palestinian state institutions to continue to fulfill their duties to support our Palestinians in Gaza Strip, including the rebuilding of Gaza Strip, and to have your resolutions with regards to support our budget implemented in order to provide the monetary safety network endorsed in the previous summit, mainly at this dire time, and also to provide resources to bring the Palestinian economy back on its feet at the earliest and without delay. We also reiterate that we will continue to implement reform plans across our institutions, and we are willing to have general, presidential, and parliamentary elections across all the Palestinian territories, including Jerusalem. To conclude, we thank His Royal Highness, the Monarch of Saudi Arabia, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, and the Crown Prince, the President of this summit, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, their Royal Highnesses and Majesties, the rulers and the heads of state for providing support and solidarity with our people at this grave hour. And I wouldn't fail to remember to thank all the peoples of the world who took to the streets protesting and demonstrating in support of our established lawful rights. And as we mark the anniversary of demise of late President Yasser Arafat, to our people we say, here we stay, remain steadfast, and by the grace of God we will end up victorious. Thank you, President Mahmoud Abbas, and give the floor to the monarch of Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, King Abdullah. In the name of Allah, the Omnipotent, the Merciful, and His blessings be upon His final messenger Muhammad, my brother, Prince Muhammad bin Saud, Your Majesties, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. May God's peace and blessings be with you all. I thank my brother, the monarch of Saudi Arabia, and my brother, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, for hosting this Arab-Islamic summit. Today, we convene for Gaza and the Gazans as they are reeling under killing and destruction, under a heinous, belligerent war that must come to an end immediately. Otherwise, the entire region will be on collision course, where children of coming generations on both sides will pay the price, and the toll will be heavier on the region and the whole world. This is not 1 month old. It dates back to more than 7 decades of violence, violations, and desecrations of holy sites. Majority of victims are innocent civilians. It is the same mentality that wishes to transfer Gaza in uninhabitable land, targeting hospitals, churches, schools, killing medical teams, rescue teams, elderly women and children. And I wonder, should the world wait for such a painful humanitarian disaster and this total destructions in order to realize that the just peace whereby the Palestinians are restored on the two-state solutions is the only means towards stability and ending this charade of violence and killing that extended for decades. The unjust inflicted on the Palestinians is a testimony of the failure of the international community.
अरब लीग का हंगामी इजलास जारी है। शामिल करेंगे कुछ दीगर अहम खबरें। कराची के इलाके बल्दिया यूसुफ गोट टर्मिनल के करीब ऑयल टैंकर में धमाका हुआ है। 2 अफराद जाम बहक हो गए हैं। रेस्क्यू जराये का कहना है धमाका ऑयल टैंकर में वेल्डिंग के दौरान हुआ। मजीद क्या तफसीलात हैं, नजीर शाह से जानते हैं। बताइए नजीर।
बिल्कुल देखें, बल्दिया यूसुफ गोट टर्मिनल है, जहाँ पर एक वर्कशॉप, जहाँ पर एक ऑयल टैंकर में वेल्डिंग का काम किया जा रहा था। इसी दौरान आग से ज्यादा होने से टैंकर में जोरदार धमाका हुआ है, जिसके नतीजे में वहां पर मौजूद एक लड़के समेत 2 अफराद इसमें जाँ बहक हुए हैं, जिनको फौरी तौर पर उनकी लाशों को अस्पताल मुंतकिल कर दिया गया है। और रेस्क्यूदारों का यही कहना है कि ये वेल्डिंग की काम के दौरान ये धमाका हुआ है। पुलिस और तहकीकाती टीमें जाए वक्त पहुंच चुकी हैं और मजीद तफ्तीश जारी है। जी
शुक्रिया नजीर शाह।
Reshine with Sparks.
Ideas Naya 11-11 sale with flat 40% off from 9th to 12th November on all items. Head to your nearest outlet or visit gulahmedshop.com.
ये आसमां और ये ज़मीन तेरी और मेरी पहचान बनी जब कोई ना था अपना तेरा ये मिट्टी तेरा सहारा बनी लौटाना है वो कर्ज अपना करना है रोशन वो सपना जुड़ जाओ तो ये जहां भी तेरा मिसाल तेरी इस दुनिया को कि तुझ जैसा कोई नहीं जुड़ जाओ तो ये जहां भी तेरा मिसाल तेरी इस दुनिया को कि तुझ जैसा कोई नहीं दिल में जो है जुबान पर लाकर तो देखो कर लो यकीन खुद पे आवाज उठाकर तो देखो मिलकर खड़े हैं तो घबराना कैसा दिखाना है जुनून अपना करना है रोशन वो सपना जुड़ जाओ तो ये जहां भी तेरा मिसाल तेरी इस दुनिया को कि तुझ जैसा कोई नहीं जुड़ जाओ तो ये जहां भी तेरा मिसाल तेरी इस दुनिया को कि तुझ जैसा कोई नहीं जुड़ जाओ तो ये जहां भी तेरा मिसाल तेरी इस दुनिया को कि तुझ जैसा कोई नहीं जुड़ जाओ तो ये जहां भी तेरा मिसाल तेरी इस दुनिया को कि तुझ जैसा कोई नहीं
Ideas Naya 11-11 sale with flat 40% off from 9th to 12th November on all items. Head to your nearest outlet or visit gulahmedshop.com.
पोर्शंस प्लान करना तो कोई तुमसे सीखे।
आज की मॉम्स जानती है कि पोर्शंस में ही किफायत है, इसीलिए डेली ब्रेकफास्ट ऑल पर्स 1.5 पाव से प्लान करती है।
ग्लास भर गिजायत बोल भर खुशी 1.5 पाव से 2 कप चाय भी बनी पूरा करे ब्रेकफास्ट का वादा 1.5 पाव भाई हर माँ को ज्यादा हैप्पी सुबह
ऑल पर्स की वही प्योर गुडनेस अब 1.5 पाव बचत पैक में।
ऑल पर्स की हैप्पी सुबह
Ideas Naya 11-11 sale with flat 40% off from 9th to 12th November on all items. Head to your nearest outlet or visit gulahmedshop.com.
फैसलाबाद में कारोबार जमाने का सबसे सुनहरी मौका
लाइलपुर गैलरिया 3 फैसलाबाद।
डिस्काउंट कीमतों पर बुकिंग की आखिरी तारीख 14 नवंबर। राब्ता कीजिए स्टार मार्केटिंग प्राइवेट लिमिटेड।
Ideas Laya 11-11 sale with flat 40% off from 9th to 12th November on all items. Head to your nearest outlet or visit gulahmedshop.com.
कैरमल, नूगा और कैडबरी चॉकलेट का मजेदार बूस्ट। कैडबरी मोरो अब एक न्यू लुक में। मोरो खाओ और रीसेट हो जाओ।
Ideas Laya 11-11 sale with flat 40% off from 9th to 12th November on all items. Head to your nearest outlet or visit gulahmedshop.com.
अल रहीम गार्डन लाया आपके लिए 1 साला रिहायशी पेमेंट प्लान, 1.5 साला कमर्शियल प्लान, 2, 4 और 10 परला ऑन ग्राउंड कमर्शियल प्लॉट्स 12 लाख से। अल रहीम गार्डन्स लाहौर, एक्सपीरियंस द न्यू लिविंग।
Ideas Laya 11-11 sale with flat 40% off from 9th to 12th November on all items. Head to your nearest outlet or visit gulahmedshop.com.
Bellini hair color. बाल डैमेज करता नहीं, स्किन पे चढ़ता नहीं।
Be cool, be fun, be bold, be young.
Bellini hair color. हर रंग में लगो young.
Ideas Laya 11-11 sale with flat 40% off from 9th to 12th November on all items. Head to your nearest outlet or visit gulahmedshop.com.
कैरमल, नूगा और कैडबरी चॉकलेट का मजेदार बूस्ट। कैडबरी मोरो अब एक न्यू लुक में। मोरो खाओ और रीसेट हो जाओ।
Ideas Laya 11-11 sale with flat 40% off from 9th to 12th November on all items. Head to your nearest outlet or visit gulahmedshop.com.
हम आज जरा उस कल्चर का, उस रवैये का जायजा लेने की कोशिश करेंगे कि ट्रैफिक वार्डन्स या ट्रैफिक पुलिस एहलकार जब भी किसी को रोकते हैं अपना तारुफ करवाया जाता है कि तुम जानते नहीं मैं कौन हूँ।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम भाईजान, लाइसेंस आईडी कार्ड दिखाइएगा अपना। एडवोकेट हाई कोर्ट डॉक्टर
सारे सीएम मिनिस्टर गवर्नर सारे मेरे फ्रेंड्स हैं।
आईजी साहब के तो वो साहब जो उनसे बात करवा दूंगा।
आपके डीजी पहले साइज उनके भांजे।
अच्छा अच्छा,
ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮੁਤਾबिक जनाब टी अरकम फैसलाबाद।
हमें तारुफ क्यों करवाने की जरूरत पड़ती है? हर बार गलती हुई है, बंदा कहता है जी कर दे चालान।
मैं बिल्कुल करवाऊंगी क्योंकि ये बहुत दफा हो चुका है। हाँ।
और कोई इमरजेंसी नहीं है तो हमें कैसे रिस्पॉन्ड करना चाहिए?
ऐसे हमें रिस्पॉन्ड
इसके पीछे साइकी क्या है अली भाई?
हमारे पाकिस्तान में कि यार ये मैं थोड़ा सा सुपीरियर लगूं।
लाइसेंस बना है आपका? लाइसेंस आईडी का क्यों
ना मैं बनवाया ना मेरे प्यू ने बनवाया।
देखिए सरेआम हर हफ्ता शाम 7:03 पे सिर्फ ARY न्यूज पर।
जुल्म बढ़ता है तो मिट जाता है, घर जल गए, स्कूल बिखर गए, कोई अस्पताल बाकी न रहा।
Place in Gaza and Ramallah, where hospitals, churches, schools, refugee camps, even ambulance vehicles were targeted in ferocious, barbaric fashion, unprecedented in history. We have all witnessed the bodies of innocent children scattered all across hospital yards. We all witnessed women getting killed, holding their babies between their arms, other family members searching for their loved ones under the debris. These painful scenes have been repeated for decades, and they will remain carved in our memories. Israel is trying to revenge what happened in October 7 in a manner that is not acceptable to many of us by killing women, children, and elders. We cannot accept the acts of the Israeli occupation forces or the illegal settlers. Our fellow brothers in Palestine and the West Bank are also impacted. According to the UN reports, more than 12,000 Palestinians were killed in Gaza and West Bank, 73 of whom are women and children. This cannot be disregarded nor accepted as a pretext to any act. As the whole world stands in silence, this brings us to shame. Gaza is almost level to the ground, and the Western countries did not even call for a ceasefire. If you take a look at the recent incident where very few people were killed in Paris and all the heads of state marched hand in hand expressing their rejection. Yet, thousands were killed in Palestine without any head of state in the West moving a finger. It is nothing but utter failure. Those who remain silent in the face of injustice is complicit and in collusion. Those who are defending the United States and West, preaching on human rights and civility, were all exposed. We have seen the recent vote in the United Nations Assembly, only 101 votes in favor, while the rest of the world remain standing. We also wish that the states supporting Israel to listen to these calls. The Arab and Muslim world is standing united in the face of this solemn incident. And I thank and appreciate all the states who managed to deliver some aid in cooperation with our brothers in Egypt. We in Turkey dispatched 10 cargo planes, and yesterday a cargo ship carrying 366 tons left Turkey and will arrive today in Al Arish port. We will spare no effort to continue to cater to cancer patients in the Turkish hospital inside Gaza Strip. On November 15, an international conference will be held whereby the spouses of the heads of state will be convened to an international conference. Our aim is to have the humanitarian aid delivered, and the prime goal is to reach a permanent ceasefire, not a temporary one.
Biz de söz konusu karara aynı şekilde yaklaşıyoruz. Ayrıca insani yardımlar kesintisiz ve sürekli olarak
humanitarian pause is not a just solution. We seek a permanent ceasefire and safe passage be opened for delivery of relief aid, mainly fuel, to be delivered to the vital institutions, chiefly hospitals.
Tüm teşkilat üyesi ülkeler Mısırlı kardeşlerimize
Similarly, the UNRWA has described Gaza, that is now totally denied of all types of aid, like an inferno. Border crossing points should remain open permanently. At the same time, Israel and Israeli officials must be held criminally liable for their crimes. This must be addressed by the United Nations, the International Criminal Court, whereby due investigations must be initiated. Speaking of the nuclear powers, the International Agency for Atomic Energy also must address this issue. The nuclear power possessed by Israel must be detected and identified. This particular issue, vital issue, cannot go unnoticed. This represents a grave threat to the entire region. Third point is compensation. It is one of the factors that Israel is acting recklessly, is that on every occasion they escape payment of compensation for each and every crime they commit, from destruction to the killing. Israel must pay compensations. It is Israel that must pay compensation. It is like a favored, cuddled boy. We cannot abandon our fellow humans in Palestine. We cannot abandon our brothers in Palestine. Therefore, a fund must be created under the Islamic Organization of Islamic Cooperation, be created to ensure the rebuilding of Gaza Strip. We in Turkey will do what it takes to contribute to this fund. We cannot speak of attempts of normalization of relations with Israel in the region without resolving the Palestinian cause. The root cause lies in the lawful rights of the Palestinians, namely the establishment of their independent state on the 1967 borders, the territorial integrity of their land, and East Jerusalem as their capital. We also believe that the International Peace Conference will be a foundation stone to safeguard peace, and to this direction we should continue to exert maximum effort, including a guarantor state, a state that acts as a guarantor for the Palestinians. This, no doubt, will restore peace, security, and welfare, not only to the Palestinians, but all the peoples of the region, including the Israelis. We must be cautious when it comes to safeguarding the holy sites in Jerusalem, as Israel attempts to impose a status quo on Al-Aqsa compound. Many states in the region, including
Değerli kardeşlerim, ilk kıblemiz olan Mescid-i Aksa'nın da yer aldığı Harem-i Şerif'in kutsiyeti ve tarihi statükosunun ihlali karşısında da müteyakkız olmalıyız. İsrail'in yaşananları fırsat bilerek Harem-i Şerif'e yönelik emrivakiler yapması kuvvetle muhtemeldir. Türkiye dahil bölgedeki çok ülkenin toprak bütünlüğünü tehdit eden vaat edilmiş topraklar hezeyanlarının dillendirilmesi bunun en açık ispatıdır. Hep gibi Kudüs bizim kırmızı çizgimizdir. Barış şehri olarak bilinen Kudüs
recovery to the wound wounded. And I hope this summit will be a means towards peace, security, and welfare to the Arab and Muslim peoples. And I end by praying to God Almighty to accept in His mercy the fallen martyrs in Palestine, grant speed, recovery to the wounded, and I hope this summit will be a means towards peace, security, and welfare to the Arab and Muslim peoples.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Allah Almighty.
Paduka Yang Mulia Pangeran Muhammad bin Salman Al Saud, Yang Mulia para pemimpin dan ketua delegasi OKI Forum, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Indonesia mendukung penyelenggaraan KTT OKI dan tepat sekali ini dilakukan. Dan OKI harus mampu menghasilkan hal-hal yang konkret agar kekejaman Israel di Gaza dapat segera dihentikan. 1 bulan telah terjadi kekejaman ini dan dunia seolah-olah tidak berdaya. Lebih dari 7,9 miliar penduduk dunia.
If you're just joining us on Al Jazeera, it's almost 12:10 GMT, 3:10 p.m. in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where the Saudi Crown Prince hosting an emergency meeting, a joint emergency meeting of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to discuss the war and humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Speaking right now is the Indonesian President Joko Widodo. We've heard from a number of heads of states and governments in this meeting. 57 countries represented at this joint emergency meeting of the OIC and the Arab League. The Saudi Crown Prince in his opening statement saying that we reject the war on Gaza, condemning what he called the brutal war. He called for a cessation of hostilities, of military operations, and a release of the captives. He also blamed the war on Gaza on the UN Security Council. We've also heard from the Egyptian President Sisi, the Turkish President Erdogan, and currently we are hearing
under threat and under bombardment, and Indonesia must urge everyone to respect the humanitarian laws, and we need as an OIC to ask for taking Israel to the courts and blaming Israel for what it has done against the Palestinians and against Gaza. The committees, the investigation committees must go into the occupied territories, and all the human rights organizations must be always there to see what's going on. ICC must play a role in this action, and the Organization of Islamic Conference will push forward towards peace negotiations in order to find a solution and in order to reach the two-state solution. We cannot accept the one state in this part of the world, and nothing will be on the expenses of the Palestinian people. OIC must go on and must push towards reaching certain dialogues for the sake of the peace, and I'd like to say the OIC must be always united, must use every single and each tool that can push towards the diplomatic efforts in order to achieve justice, bring justice to the Palestinians. From Riyadh, we need to do something, and I will meet the U.S. President Joe Biden in the United States of America, and I will convey to him the message of the OIC. Thank you very much, and peace be upon you all. I'd like to thank President Joker.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أصحاب الجلالة والفخامة والسمو، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. في البداية أتقدم بالشكر على الجهود المباركة للمملكة العربية السعودية الشقيقة بقيادة خادم الحرمين الشريفين وأخي سمو الأمير محمد بن سلمان ولي العهد ورئيس مجلس الوزراء لهذه القمة التي تأتي
Praise
في
Muhammad
I'd like to thank
for hosting this summit that comes at the decisive moment in the history of our region. This summit convenes as our fellow brothers in Gaza Strip go through that what is unbearable under the Israeli killing machine, and the international community failed to live up to their ethical and legal crimes, pogroms, and violations committed under the pretext of self-defense. And as our hearts broken to witness women, children, and elders killed in masses amid these human sufferings, till when will the international community remain silent to deal with Israel and leave them above the international law, allowing them to violate all the international laws and turn a blind eye to all the human values in their belligerent war on the indigenous people of Palestine? What is taking place in Gaza is a real threat at all levels. There are unprecedented events. How comes the bombardment of hospital becomes an ordinary attack under the false allegation that there are tunnels and military installations underneath? Our eyes are frozen and heartbroken to see these atrocities. All this is unprecedented. In this war, and even before, during the unjust siege of Gaza, many peoples and states worldwide who lecture on the abidance and compliance with international law and human values, standing silent amid all these atrocities against the Palestinians, women and children, bombardment of hospitals and sheltering centers are even represents nothing to them. They remain silent to see the dead bodies reeked, bloated, and eaten by stray animals. The international world remained immune against all these scenes, yet at the same time justifying all these crimes committed by the Israelis. Who could imagine that hospitals can be publicly and openly shelled in the 21st century? Total households, entire residential quarters being wiped off the face of the earth, entire people being forced to depopulate and transfer out of their homeland. All these unprecedented events taking place under the nose and eyes of the whole world. Yet some hurry to support and stand in solidarity of Israel and its leader. The state of Qatar has always had stand and firm position in support of the Palestinian people and their just cause, and we will continue with our partners in the region and the international community to deliver humanitarian aid and the swift delivery thereof amid the Israeli hubris and rejection of the delivery of aid. And here we call for constantly opening the humanitarian corridor to deliver aid to the affected and the aggrieved without any condition or restriction. And we totally and categorically reject any denial of humanitarian aid and the use of aerial bombardment for political blackmail. We emphasize that all these delivery items, human aid, must arrive on each and every corner of Gaza Strip. This is at the least we can do. As similarly, we will continue to engage in all the political and diplomatic efforts regionally and globally to end bloodshed, including a mediation for the release of captives. And we hope a permanent ceasefire will be reached immediately to spare the Gaza Strip from the further repercussions of this humanitarian crisis. We reiterate our firm positions against the targeting of all civilians, regardless of their race, ethnicity, religion, or color of skin. We also condemn the targeting of medical and educational facilities under any pretext. And in this context, that the United Nations dispatch investigation teams to verify the false allegations propagated by the Israeli occupation to justify the bombardment of these installations. I reiterate, nothing justifies these crimes. You all aware of the sentiment sweeping and prevailing among our people, and this is not a disputed issue, and this difference cannot prevent us from taking a firm stand against the crimes committed in Gaza. We should not stop at releasing statement of condemnation. We should take deterring action to put an end to the belligerent war in Gaza. Backed by the Islamic State, if Israel continues to violate the international law, will not cause damage to the Arab and Muslim countries alone, but the regional states as well. Finally, I emphasize that the only lasting peace to this issue is that under the international resolution, the Arab Peace Initiative, it is the solution that has always been reiterated by the international community and to which we adhere based on our conviction of the Palestinian people's rightful right for peace, security and independent state, and the practical measures following this belligerent war will allow Israel to continue to undermine all efforts aiming at establishing peace. Mainly, Israel continues to reject to recognize the rights of the Palestinian people. What it always plans for is further military and security solutions against the civilians, indigenous people. The international community must act to end this current crisis, and if we fail, we will allow the Israelis to continue with this practice. Thank you.
Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad, President of Iran, will take the floor. Peace be upon you. In the name of Allah Almighty, and praise be to Allah, and praise be to our Prophet Muhammad and his companions. Those who are under a war are facing injustice, and they will be victorious. Peace be on Gaza, peace be on Palestine, peace be on the bloodshed over there, peace be on the resistance in Palestine and Lebanon. Today, Palestine is the key to dignity, Islamic dignity, humanitarian dignity. At the very beginning, Mr. President, it's my pleasure to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for hosting this meeting, this 14th important meeting of the OIC, and it's very important at this particular time, at this very decisive time in the history of the region. And this extraordinary meeting is there for us to talk about the main topic now in the Arab-Islamic world, which is the Palestinian issue. This is the worst crime that has been witnessed by the people in history. The heroes of Gaza are there, and we need to take a decision to sort out the problem. And the entire Islamic world must be united, and through this unity, depending on Allah Almighty, the ability of Allah Almighty, we can sort out the problem. We also need to depend on the abilities and capabilities of the Islamic world in order to save and rescue the entire Islamic nations. This organization must play a right and important role in order to symbolize a moment of unity. Iran has understood this, and the good neighboring policy is always adopted by Iran, and we are opening our arms for friendship with the Islamic countries today. And on behalf of the nation of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, we are meeting today in order to go and help and support the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people is in need of our help and support. Today the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not happy at all because of what's going on in Gaza and what's going on against the Palestinians. Today the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him, is waiting and is expecting a lot from the Islamic nations and from the Islamic leaders. You are my brothers in religion. Today is a day to work. Today is a historic day. We need to support the heroes who defend Al-Aqsa Mosque. Today is a day to help and support the right against the wrong. This Zionist regime is the pharaoh of the moment. This Zionist regime is symbolizing the aim and goal of killing and see the bloodshed all over the place. Demonstrations around the world are showing to everyone that the love of Palestine is everywhere, is all over the place. Today we need to achieve that goal, and we have seen during the last 5 weeks in Gaza, we have seen a lot, and this is symbolizing the brutality and the violation to the international law. The heroes of Gaza are still there. The heroes of Gaza will always be there. They have done that through the last 2 decades. And Gaza has been suffering from a blockade for around 20 years. It is the biggest prison in the world. It is the biggest prison in the world. And the heroes of Gaza are still resisting, are still confronting. And despite the fact that they are not well equipped, God will support him. Allah will support him because they are patient. The Zionist regime has violated all the rules of the international law. The Zionist regime has attacked comprehensively the whole of Gaza Strip. Bombardment and shelling and targeting sporadically. The use of light bombs that are banned in order to increase the numbers of the victims. 11,000 civilians, defenseless, have lost their lives in Gaza, and still more than 3,000 persons are under the rubble. Most of the victims, most of the Israeli aggression are women and children. They are innocent women and children and civilians. Ambulances teams, medical teams, correspondents, journalists bombing the hospitals are all criminal, brutal crimes, and this is epidemics and sickness and disease are all over the place because of the blockade imposed by the Israeli Zionist regime. And we can ask, what are the sins of those people to die? What are the sins of those innocent to be killed and to be victimized? We will be one day asked, what are the crimes of the children? What are the sins? What are the crimes of the children? The story of Gaza is the story of a conflict between dignity and between meanness. We need to decide which line we will go with and which line we will support. They are the enemies, and they are the enemies that are brutal, and they are trying to destroy the new generations. Dear leaders of Islamic nations, undoubtedly, the United States of America is the one who gave the orders to this, is the partner in these crimes, and no legitimacy for America that gives orders to the Zionist regime to continue these attacks. America prefers the Zionist regime. America prefers the Zionist regime at the expense of thousands of children and women who are dealt in without mercy. America has supported the Zionist regime to commit all these crimes and all these brutality, and they consider this as self-defense. The Zionist regime is killing, bombing, shelling the Palestinians, and this is against all the rules and international laws. And the American war Marines and aircraft carriers are there in the region in support of Israel, as if they are supporting the Zionist regime in its war against Gaza. Also, America is supporting Israel in the United Nations, vetoes the resolutions that prevent the killing of Palestinians, but the Americans have paved the way for Israel to kill more, to bombard more, and to shell more. And a lot of support is being given to Israel through different types of fatal weapons. America is filling the stores of Israel with a lot of weapons. America is giving Israel billions of dollars. America is supporting the war machine of Israel. And they are doing all this for the sake of Israel against the Palestinians. Shipments of weapons have been sent to Israel on a daily basis, and the Zionist regime have sent what we can say almost 7 atomic bombs on Gaza, on the Palestinians. This is a crime that is made by both America and Israel, and we need to follow everything in the international organizations. The worst role played in this regard is the role of the United States of America. All the sins are committed and made by the United States of America. Look at what happened in Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria and other Arab-Islamic countries. All these bad things are happening because of the United States of America. They keep the world occupied with these weapons deals and sought lot of deals and lot types of deals. And dear Islamic countries, today we need to fight all the false tactics, and the Israelis that are not fair at all hates the entire world, and the world can see now clearly that this Zionist bloody regime within the Islamic world aims to nothing except controlling those dictators and controlling the unfair and the unjust supporters. We need to make sure that everything is under America has failed, and the resolutions are not supporting the people who need. We need, end of the day, to, as we said at the beginning, and in a dialogue within the Islamic leaders, we need to have this meeting, and we wish to have such a meeting 1 month ago, but it is there now. Yes, we are late, and I still hope that this meeting will result in a resolution that will be for the sake of the Palestinian people. This must be the first step. The first step is to reach a ceasefire, to stop killing the civilians in Gaza, to put an end to the sporadic attack against the civilians. We need not allow the Zionist regime and the supporters of the Zionist regime to continue in this. We need to stop anyone from killing the citizens, killing the civilians. We need to use every tool in our hands in order to force the Zionist regime to put an end to this aggression and to put an end to his effective war machine. We must understand that the resistance in Gaza are doing a great job, and without these resistance in Gaza, without those heroes in Gaza and in Lebanon, the Zionist regime will spread its aggression everywhere, and we might have seen some other countries and some other Islamic countries are facing the Israeli confrontation. So it's no conditions must be there. No conditions must be there. We need to open the Rafah crossing. We need to continue our cooperation with the Egyptians. We need to allow the humanitarian relief and humanitarian aid to go to Gaza. We need also medical teams to go to Gaza and to help. And we must agree as leaders of Islamic countries, we must do our best in order to implement this, to find an executive delegation to do this. We need to send the relief and the aid and assistance to Gaza. We need to have humanitarian corridors in order to send the humanitarian relief to the Gaza and to the people of Gaza. We must ask and do our best for the military presence of Israel to leave Gaza. Gaza must go to the Palestinians. Gaza is the right of the Palestinians, and those who are employed by America are not doing well to the case and to the cause. The Islamic countries must do their best, must be united, must share the belief that we need to liberate all these occupied territories, and the diplomatic relations is not important. We need to cut diplomatic relations with the Zionist regime. The Islamic countries must do that. We need to boycott all the products of the Zionist regime, particularly when it comes to energy. The priority must be this one. And we need to support the popular movement to boycott the Israeli products, and the Islamic countries has a role which is to consider the IDF as a terrorist organization. We must consider this a terrorist organization, and an international court must be there in order to punish the commanders and the political leaders of the Zionist regime, even the Americans who are partners in the killing of our Palestinians in Gaza. Also, at the same time, we need to do something regarding the reconstruction in Gaza Strip, and we need to send convoys that will carry humanitarian aid and relief to the Palestinian people in Gaza from all countries, particularly the Islamic countries. We need to name a day for the Zionist crimes. Bombarding the Baptist hospital must be the day of crimes committed by the Israeli regime. And if the Zionist regime continues such crimes in this unequivalent war, the Islamic countries must do something for the Palestinian people. They need to understand that we are with them. These are the short-term and very quick solutions. The lasting solution is what mentioned by Khamenei, the leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, and it was there registered in the United Nations, which is the Palestinian state from the sea to the river, based on the democratic principles, in order for every Palestinian to have one voice to represent the Palestinian people, Muslim or Christian. No problem at all. We all support the Palestinian case, and we need to stop this war. And during the last 70 years, we have seen a lot of atrocities, and they are all with no result, with no concrete result. The Zionist regime has deceived the people, transferred the Palestinian people, sent them in a transfer movement, and a lot of settlements have been built, and military force was there in their territories, in the Palestinian territories. And the Zionist regime is the occupation regime, is not legal at all, and we need to put in mind that time is not for the sake of the Palestinians, is not for the sake of the legitimate rights of the Palestinians. 75 years has passed, and the Zionist regime is the one who is committing racism and is the one who must leave our area. And on the other hand, we need to face strongly, we need to defend strongly, we need to do this sacred defense against our land, we need to resist the Zionist regime, and we need to increase the resistance, to support the resistance. We have seen the heroes of Gaza doing what in a 35-day conflict between them and the Israelis. In order to get rid of the occupation, we need to support the resistance. And we need to kiss the hands and foreheads of every and each member of the Palestinian resistance, of Hamas people. We need to shake hands with them, to salute the Palestinian people in Gaza, to salute the resistance in Gaza. And I need to confirm that Iran recognizes the resistance in Gaza and denounces the transfer and relocation of the Palestinian people from Gaza being a war crime against the Palestinians. The sacred, the holy sites are very important, and we have stressed the importance all over the years. And I want from all the countries who supported Gaza, I'd like to thank every country who supported Gaza. And today the crimes of the occupation, the crime is the crimes of Israel are a wake-up call to everyone. We need to be always with the Palestinians in Gaza, and we at the same time need to know that the Israelis are the only entity in the world who doesn't consider the human life, who doesn't consider the human entity. And every international organization must put this in mind. All the crimes have been committed, and the world is witnessing and watching. And the Israelis are threatening to kill more of the Palestinians. Not only that, but to use the nuclear weapon against the Palestinians. We have seen that, and we need to support and salute the Palestinian resistance that has achieved a lot of gains for the sake of the Palestinian cause. And 75 years of occupation and domination, and Those people who are always supporting Israel all over the years must understand that peoples, Muslim peoples, consider this a shame. They see the blood of the brothers and sisters all over the place in Gaza, and they have seen other countries supporting and financing the fuel that will kill the Gazans, and everyone must understand that the test of Allah Almighty will be always there. And if this meeting, the meeting of the Islamic nations, if it let the Palestinians down, and if it doesn't end up with a concrete resolution to defend Palestine, this will never be forgotten. And we must, as leaders of Islamic countries, Mr. President, at the end, I'd like to thank the children in Gaza, the martyrs in Gaza. Peace on the martyrs in Gaza. Peace on the children in Gaza. Peace on those who recite the Holy Quran in Gaza. Peace on those who are defending their land. Peace on the children who are shaking because of the horror they have seen in Gaza. And today, through your presence, through your meeting, we would like to tell the people in Gaza that the most sophisticated armies and weapons in the world will never hit you. Peace be upon you. With your bodies, with your hands, you have defeated the brutality of the Zionist regime. And with your bright faces, with traces of blood, with your parts of your bodies, with those people under the rubble, you all cry and we all say and we all shout, we are resilient. The resistance is for the resilient people in Gaza. You are the heroes of the resistance. We will never let you down. We will never let you down. Palestine will be victorious end of the day. They think it will take a long time, but we can see it within hands. And peace be upon you all.
If you're just joining us on Al Jazeera, it's 12:45 GMT, 3:45 p.m. in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where the Saudi Crown Prince has been hosting an emergency meeting, a joint meeting of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to discuss the war and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. We've heard from a number of leaders attending this emergency meeting, including the latest one we heard was Iran's President Ibrahim Raisi, saying the entire Islamic world should be united, must be united. He blamed the U.S. as a partner in Israel's crimes, in his words, and said that the blind bombardment against Gaza should stop. And the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to discuss the war and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. We've heard from a number of leaders attending this emergency meeting.
गजा की सूरत हाल पर OIC और अरब लीग का सबराही इजलास सऊदी अरब में जारी है और सऊदी वली अहद का इस हवाले से कहना था कि गजा में जंगबंदी का मुतालबा किया जाए। कहा कि गजा में जारी तनाज़े की पुरजोर मजम्मत करते हैं, फौजी ऑपरेशन फौरी बंद किए जाए। जबकि फ़लस्तीनी सदर महमूद अब्बास ने कहा कि इसराइल को अपने जंगी जराइम का हिसाब देना होगा। ईरानी सदर की जानिब से खिताब में कहा गया कि गजा पर इसराइली हमलों की मजम्मत करते हैं।
معالي الأخ أحمد أبو الغيط الأمين العام لجامعة الدول العربية، معالي السيد حسين إبراهيم طه الأمين العام لمنظمة التعاون الإسلامي، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بداية يشرفني أن أنوب عن حضرة صاحب السمو والشيخ نواف الأحمد الجابر الصباح أمير دولة الكويت حفظه الله ورعاه، وأن أنقل لكم جميعا تحيات سموه وتمنياته لكم بالتوفيق والسداد لما فيه خير أمتنا العربية والإسلامية ونصرة القضايا المستحقة، لا سيما قضيتنا الجوهرية قضية فلسطين الشقيقة. كما يطيب لي أن أتقدم لقيادة المملكة العربية السعودية وشعبها العزيز بالشكر والتقدير لما حظينا به من كرم الضيافة وحفاوة الاستقبال، وعلى مبادرتكم لعقد هذا الاجتماع الهام الاستثنائي الذي جمع العالمين العربي والإسلامي، والذي تبحث الظروف المأساوية التي يمر بها الأشقاء في فلسطين المحتلة جراء الانتهاكات التي ترتكبها سلطات الاحتلال الإسرائيلي ضد المدنيين العزل، مما ينذر بتداعيات وانعكاسات سلبية على أمن واستقرار المنطقة والعالم أجمع. أصحاب الجلالة والفخامة والسمو، ينعقد اجتماعنا هذا في الوقت الذي ما زال الأشقاء الفلسطينيون في قطاع غزة يتعرضون